All right, folks in audio land. Even though I have been lagging as far as getting audio episodes of AfterShoX up, it was meant to be just a video series, but some people have been requesting for the audio, so bear with me. We'll start getting this up regularly on audio. But anyway, peer out to outside of the window of the Eagle's Nest too. Hear the kids out in the background doing what they should do late summer, getting their plaything in. Wonderful stuff. All right, folks, let's get rolling. All right then. Welcome back to the Foxhole. AfterShoX Season 2, Episode 27, number 59 overall. Your faithful host, Kid Harlan, coming to you from Eagle's Nest 2 on a wonderful Wednesday afternoon. Ice cold chilling at Eagle's Nest 2 Studio B, watching some USL 1 future photos, FC Naples, and Union Omaha. Yeah. Scoring some brownie points with my peeps as far as that goes, doing my homework. All right, folks, as always, you can always use the help. So, like and subscribe to FTI and FX Media's YouTube channel. You can always use the likes. We appreciate the folks who've been tuning in. Give it a like. Never gonna be hassled. Doesn't cost you anything. Definitely go a long ways. Well, we've got goals we're trying to hit as far as engagement goes, and that definitely will help the channel out down the road. A lot of cool stuff, which we'll talk about over the course of this episode. Fun times ahead, as we've been promising. Okay, enough of the jibber jaw. Episode 59 coming at you. Well, let's call this segment. See, it is, August 26th. And all week and all last week, we've been seeing all those back to school picks or moving day picks for the college kids because the semester schools are already getting their thing on. It just made me think it's been a relatively calm summer. I mean, there has been some drama as we've been talking about. If you follow AfterShoX or Fox trying to get a foxhole. Oh, we've been talking about for the last 6 years, mind you. But sure enough, with the back to school picks, moving day or moving in picks, the chaos sure seemed to ramp up this week, didn't it? I mean, we'll start with the ballot of Daquan Wright and Lane Kiffin. Child, I just do not know where to begin with this one. There are so many head exploding things going on with mofos trying, after they have signed a pro contract, been in exhibition games, been on a roster. Well, no, I kind of want to go back and get some of that NIL money and hang out with the cool kids and do all that fun stuff, get that easy money, instead of like being in practice squad odyssey or bouncing from roster to roster because I ain't quite good enough to be a regular on Sunday. Yeah, I mean, at the center of it, of course, are the Predators, I say, and they're running a true predatory circle at this point. The whackball judges, the lawyers, and of course the agents, who are all with their teams asking ChatGPT, what kind of loophole can we figure out next? Now, I know I keep telling y'all, I told you this way back when I started this podcast in 2020. What's that PIL song? This is what you want. This is what you get. This is what you want. This is what you get. Told you then, if the adults did not get in the room and make some sense of this, we were going to have all kinds of whack-ball nonsense. And gee whiz, we multiplied that by 10. Did we not? Yeah, I mean, when you look at that layer alone, but there's far, far more to it for me right now. I mean, I think I am more disappointed in the personalities in the sports world. You know who they are. I don't even want to give them oxygen. A lot of the content creators who I think are doing a heck of a job, you know, the people out there that I kind of emulate and trying to get on that level. The number of those folks who are okay with this nonsense, going as far as to suggest y'all are making a big deal out of nothing. Really? Now, I know we have ripped away the veneer of what higher ed truly used to be, or what it's intended to be. Clearly with the shenanigans that we've seen in this decade. And I know, oh, these kids, they were being so exploited, so taken advantage of. And as I've said here many times, blue in the face, gee whiz, the apprentice system worked pretty well for many, many centuries and still does. You know, provided you are giving the person you are training for the next level to become a professional, resources, tools, and those things to be successful in the whole learning process as you are working towards being a finished product. I mean, come on, man. $6 million quarterbacks, and when you got fools who can come into a professional roster, whatever it may be, and sit there and go, yeah, okay. I mean, I forget, who was it who was saying that, oh, it was Todd Monken, the coach for the Browns. He was talking about getting calls, you know, actually for this guy, Daquan Wright, and how people are frantically cutting up tape of NFL preseason games to figure out, well, he might get cut. Let's see if we can offer him a deal because the loopholes are there. And as we've said many, many times, you know, you can't hate the player, but you can. But what's the point? If it's there, why not exploit it? That's what Lane Kiffin is saying. If I don't do it, he's going to be on somebody else's team. And that's the problem I have with these folks who know better, saying, yeah, you know, we just kind of accept it, you know, while this is the law of the land right now. Or the lack of the law of the land, depending on what lens you see it through. I'm serious. And that infuriates me to no end, because you all know better than this. You all know this is absolutely stupid. And yeah, the problem, we've gotten so soft. We've allowed this kind of, we've allowed the narcissists and weirdos to just dictate things. And now you're giving these, I don't know, I don't want to be harsh because I'm not necessarily calling these athletes narcissists, but I just think in the meta-narrative, in terms of just allowing a lot of stuff to go and nobody really being able to ever put your foot down. Because there's no way in heck this should have ever spiraled to where we are right now. Now, give you this. The empires are pushing back. I mean, obviously the SEC, the Big 12, the Big 10. Pac-12 is still kind of waiting. More on that in a minute. Well, it's kind of like, well, The other conferences, no. I mean, it just gets to be a mockery. And it's not that they're trying to protect the integrity of the game. They just don't want anybody to get a competitive advantage over them. But I wish there were people that said, no, man, this is bull jive. We can't be having any of this nonsense. What are you all talking about? Wow. No, it's crazy. And the problem is going back to the predatory circle, especially these judges. Now, these judges that may have a affiliation with a particular institution, or as I keep saying, folks who either hate athletes or just have some namby-pamby, I feel sorry for everyone. Yeah, they deserve more eligibility. See, this goes back to everything goes back to COVID. And when they use the opportunity with COVID in the social unrest following George Floyd's untimely death, which was why we have the Commanders and Guardians and many other things that change in the sports landscape in this particular window. Go back and check the files. I mean, I was green back then, basically recording in some little task camp, doing audio shows. And I said, man, this is good. We're on the highway to hell. Bon Scott, have another shot of whiskey. Yeah, it's pretty hot. Oh my goodness. But anyways, I got a little off the rails there. It happens occasionally. Yeah. I don't know what's going to happen as far as September goes. I think that the balls are in place. And we're going to play ping pong as far as what's going to happen with the courts and what really has to happen. Obviously, we start playing games this week, so things are really going to ratchet it up quickly. But because the adults didn't get in the room, there might be some weird stuff that gets to stick for a minute. And who knows what kind of long-term ramifications that may have. Especially if you get some of these guys here who could help Elaine Kippen win a national championship. Yeah, it's so, like I said, it's so ridiculous. People acting all sanctimonious when we just tried to protect Joanne. All right. I got some other fun stuff to talk about. We're going to cook up in here for a little bit. Thanks for putting up with me. We'll see you momentarily. Back in a snap and a twist. Or not. Not quiet. All right, folks. Even though I just spent the last segment speaking a great deal about what's going on campus, I would be remiss. I think now is a good time. If you follow me on social media, you know I've been hinting at this. Me and Alex Corbin, aka Alec Ford, we're launching a new podcast. And I think that's going to happen here in the next day or two. Give her, it's going to happen. I will definitely, as far as my social media and other channels, let you know where to watch it. Still working out some last minute stuff before we go on the air. We do have a X account that is up, so you want to like tweet something to us, please do, or follow that one too. It's the pack reset. That is going to be the show. Stay tuned. Gonna be a blast. That's all I can say. I'm so excited about it, but this is coming real quick. Yeah. All right. So I was listening to some later Who albums. I was kind of in a mood. Right, I put like Who by numbers on, and then Who Are You, which is, I know a lot of people don't like, but I think is vastly underrated. And I listened to like Face Dances. Then I got to It's Hard, which I kind of like, but I get understand. I've never pushed back at those who don't like It's Hard. But I always think about that one song on there. What is it? A Man is a Man. Because all this stuff that's been going on with my man, Mr. Freedom Cantor, he's become a true sideshow. And in a way, kind of legitimizing the wackos over there in the W. Because this has gotten so silly that people kind of are, I don't want to say completely siding with these folks because they are the most unlikable group in sports. And I ain't saying this to be misogynist or sexist. It's just what it is. And they want it that way because they don't want the rest of us in their party. You didn't care about us anyway. But you get that? All that stuff that's going on, what we've been talking about for years. It's always been an activist league, and it's always going to roll a certain way. But then you get this show. Now, I have no idea what the hell Natasha Cloud was doing, flexing, and as people like Jason Whitlock and others all week have said, you're over there trying to muscle with somebody who'd probably snap you in half. That's not going to happen. Everybody's posturing. But you lose focus in a game where you were competing against the Fever. Right, you were down by 3. You ended up getting run off the building because you were too busy flexing, having your moment, having your street cred. And I'm like with Mr. Freedom Ennis. Royce, you too, man. I thought it was stupid, as I've said already on this platform, in the first 40 seconds. But to continue where the league or the team of whoever it was, part of the scenery, has to issue you an indefinite ban from attending games because you pose a threat, to the order and we can't conduct business. Is that what you wanted to achieve? I mean, the thing is, too, the battle line is clear. And I've said this about the loons on the court, that they are an interesting case study of many divisions, many discourses in current American society. It's all kind of intersecting over this group of ladies. Right? I've said that for years. It is a very hearty soup for somebody who's going to be writing a dissertation in the early 2030s about this nonsense. If they're seeing it through the lens I'm seeing it through. But that all aside, I don't know. I'm starting to agree with the folks that I normally don't agree with. That is this really bad for this league? I mean, was it the Fever? Were they playing the Valkyries? Basically had 3 million viewers. So clearly the antics aren't drawing people away, or at least when it comes to Caitlin Clark and Sophie. I mean, I'll have an interesting conversation. I might as well have it now, right? Because It's interesting. Um, Caitlin had another fantastic game against a bottom feeder that struggled against playoff teams. But we're getting more about her MVP credentials than her being a lightning rod for so many things that are intersecting in the cultural wars. That's going to be refreshing to her. And like I said, she can cook against the bad teams. I'm more interested about what happens when she's up against some of these, teams that actually play defense. But it's good that we're talking about that, right? Because she's balling out. Obviously, Kelsey Mitchell is on a tear. I mean, many people feel she should be the MVP. Then you got Me Bounce. Right. I mean, she had like 28 rebounds, I think, the other night. 26, 28, 20, a record. Then I go peel in, and she's like 4 of 14, and I'm just like going, she's. So you're trying to tell me probably 15 of those rebounds were her own? I mean, she has shown, as far as the inadequate parts of her game. I think when she's focused and is bad after we've ridiculed her for a while, that she can look confident in what she's doing. But then, you see all these pictures of her, like I said, looking like she wants to be on the runway as opposed to battling with some of these badass girls down below. I just think, it's a focus thing when it comes to her, is what I'm seeing when it comes to Miss Angeles. But it's cool that we are talking about basketball again, and then the Johnny Carringtons and some of the other colorful characters. Less about that, less about the shenanigans, and that's good. As I said last week, I think football taking center stage has a major portion of that, and now we have many other things to fixate on. Whew, man. Okay, before I move on to something else, this has taken me a while to get to since we're talking a little basketball. So I was watching Amazon, and I've been trying to catch up on some of the sports documentaries they have there. Always looking for content. And I finally got around to watching Soul Power, the documentary about the ABA. And yeah, I totally dug it. It's kind of cool that George Carl and I forget who else was behind the scenes of making it. Always loved the access to the footage. Somebody who grew up in that era. There was kind of like a brief window, I think, when ABA games were on CBS. But the later you got into the game, the less access you had to all these badasses. And this is when I laugh. I'm old enough to remember this stuff. This makes me laugh when people talk about, Kareem and Wilt playing against a bunch of plumbers and sharecroppers kind of bullshit jive. Yeah, the documentary is great. And it's also, like many things that don't have the happiest of endings. There's some sad stuff in there in terms of how people got screwed over. But then again, the one guy who got screwed over bad still came away with a fat bag of cash. A fat bag of cash. Obviously, a big emphasis on Dr. J. I thought it was cool getting some great Rick Barry data, especially, his time before Dr. J, when he was supposed to be the savior of the Nets. Definitely worth checking out. Might have some more insights about this than what I think about it for fostering in a foxhole, but I highly recommend it, especially if you really want to know about old school basketball and basically, what really changed the game to what as we know it today. There's a lot to do with what happened in that league, and then when the teams that they decided to ingest, basically forms the template of the modern game. All right, folks, we're cooking, we're ice cold chilling at the same time. When we come back, we'll cook up something else more wild. All right, folks. Keep an eye out for the pack reset. This is going to be a weekly podcast with my man, Mr. Corbin, aka Mr. Ford. Gonna give you a bird's eye view into that conference every week. Gonna be very scant on what you might be getting, but I think this is going to be a fun, high fidelity experience worth checking out. Keep it rolling. Okay, let me hop back over here. Alrighty. Yeah, we gotta finish the podcast. We've been kind of keeping it under wraps until we kind of knew that it was ready to launch. And I'm not so sure exactly when, just know it's imminent. I'm telling you, man. Dotting the I's and crossing the T's, all that last minute stuff. Yeah, the back end stuff, more of a pain than you think. Some of the front end stuff too. Anyways, woe is me. Nobody knows the troubles. Yeah. Anyhow, I see FC Napoli, not FC Napoli, FC Naples, Florida. It's got a 1-0 lead over Omaha. Keeping an eye on that. Okay, we're going to call this segment Adventures on Rattlesnake Island. Why am I talking about Rattlesnake Island? Well, okay, so even though most people pan the effort, there are elements of the Godfather sequels that Mark Weingartner wrote. And one of Michael's enemies, well, his main enemy, you could say, is connected to the Cleveland family. And Rattlesnake Island is obviously near Cleveland. And yeah, the whole book kind of centers around a lot of things that happened at Rattlesnake Island, but particularly this crash in 1955, which kind of lays the context for this feud that Michael has with Ace Geraci. Anyways, not to get too deep in that, but I just got to thinking about all the crazy stuff going on in Ohio this week. And let's start with the 49ers and their summer of shame. The way this is going on, y'all giving the Cowboys of the 90s a run for their money. You know, those guys who have the White House. Jetty. I mean, you ain't no Jetty I know. Jedi, I should say. Now I ain't here to get on my moral high horse, even though I do like live a pretty clean, pristine life for the most part. But I'm just thinking, how many times do I gotta say this? When you're rich, high profile, you've made some things happen in this lifetime. Maybe you got some freaky deaky thing going on with you, I don't know. But what are you doing going to a trailer park, hunting it down on your phone, leaving all kinds of electronic breadcrumbs? When the kind of money you have, and maybe you're a cheapskate, I don't know, you can go get some escort, make her sign an NDA, and do whatever freaky deaky stuff you ever wanted to, and we never have to even know or get a whiff about it. But once again, I would be remiss if I did not be impressed with this 49er organization and what seems to be an endless ability with their damage control. I mean, organization. We still don't really know what went down with Kyle, but hell, that's 4 stops behind. I sit there thinking about all you knuckleheads in Hollywood. Shoot, you need to like have your team do like a do like a week-long retreat in the offseason with the 49ers and really pick their brains in terms of how to dampening a raging inferno. And yes, the power plant is definitely laughing all the way. Like that Twitter account, like the Pack Reset Twitter account while you're at it as well. You know, always, I got to put that up there. Like and subscribe. I'm going to always be hitting you up as far as that goes. But yeah, the 49ers, this wacky summer, obviously, I don't think they're, I know they're not quite at the Cowboys level of shenanigans. But you add one or two more stories, they gonna be in the conversation. Okay, man. Sticking with the Rattlesnake Island theme, Cleveland, where Rattlesnake Island is located nearby. Man, I don't know what to say about this. Other than Jimmy Haslam, way to take a dysfunctional franchise and just be pennies from heaven for content creators, because you're truly the gift that keeps on giving. Content creators, people in the sports media. I mean, after that poo fest that Deshaun had, and then one of those bizarre, I'm going to call everybody out. Even though I said, when I come back and my boo, it ain't going to bother me. Obviously, you did get into your feelings. Okay, whatever. And then, obviously, the Shadur sexuals and the co-conspirators in the media. Right, who are just beside themselves. I mean, this is like the worst day since FDR died in April 1945 to them, the way they're carrying on. About the injustice of Shadur not getting a chance to be QB1. We've always talked about the financial ramifications. And really, aside from that, who the hell ever knows what's going on in the mind of Jimmy Haslam? That Andrew Berry, that organization. I mean, it's great theater though, isn't it? And I was like watching some of that game, and they were doing the sideline thing with Shadur, and yeah. Hey, I know I'm gonna get in trouble for saying this, but I'm telling you, every time I hear him, I'm like going, man, you're like the Ben Crump of quarterbacks, if you know what I mean. I'm like, okay. Somebody make that one make sense for me. But whatever the case may be, and maybe this is just to give Deshaun a couple of games. We tried, and then we bring our king back and give him a legitimate shot. Because, yeah, I'm with folks. I ain't the biggest Shadur fan based on what I saw last year. But I do remember the last time I saw Deshaun last weekend. I didn't like it. They both threw picks. Okay? So, I mean, obviously, Shadur had a solid drive. Looked good on that drive, actually. And Deshaun kind of looked like he did when we last saw him. Did he not? I don't know, man. When Shadur, sometimes I wonder. Obviously, it hurt his draft stock. I wonder if this is hurting him right now, where you're in one of those situations where it's the squeeze worth the juice with this guy. Right? I just wonder sometimes when it comes to Mr. Sanders. Another interesting thing for me, too, when it comes to the Rams. Obviously, I won't say consensus, but an overwhelming favorite by many to be hoisting the Lombardi Trophy in February in their crib, because that's where the game is being played, right? you just get the feeling that, okay, maybe y'all are in a good spot. Maybe y'all should think about just getting another ring, not trying to appease to the Hollywood crowd. Did you see that like influencer they had in the booth? Now I know we're trying to appeal to a new generation, which I got no problem with that. I don't. I mean, I'm not some curmudgeon sitting up here enjoying my caldera. I'm always open to anything, but it can't be stupid. And this Ram superfan, she's some actress. I was just like, really? Are we dumbing things down to this point? Y'all are so greedy to get, because you already got the hardcore football fans who spend money they ain't got. We just saw the rivalry jerseys drop this week. More money they gonna take from you. And we get the slocky. There's one thing in the Browns game with the Shador interview. He's a big social media guy, but he actually can play. This actress who's like, I mean, come on. I mean, give football fans some credit. I mean, don't dump it down to the point where we've got earbuds on, listening to the Africa 70 bootlegs that your friend turned you on to, that you already had in your collection, but you forgot about. Oh my God. Yeah, I just think they're taking the Hollywood thing just too far. Product sells itself, especially, obviously if you're going to get Mr. Donald back into the picture and everything else that Mr. McVeigh's boys, or Mr. Kroenke's boys, to be fair, bring to the table. Okay. Well, you know me. I always like to talk about my Commanders. Boy, it is an interesting story going on there. Yes, we're going back to the branding thing. Obviously, I've been supporting this cap again because everybody's making a big deal about the merch store selling a lot of stuff with Redskins branding. Even held to the Commanders, the Braves of the Warpath line has been restored to the song. But indications from the brass that the Commander's name is going to be that moving forward. And we're just honoring the history and maintaining our ownership so we can maintain use of the trademark and all that kind of stuff moving forward. It's so much mixed messaging when it comes to this. And I've had a lot to say about this over the years. And I'll probably have more to say as this thing gets weirder and weirder. Because I just feel like the more you seem to double down, the more it just seems like, well, this is basically the Redskins now going, just happen to be called the Commanders. And I'm almost thinking, I would think it would be mealy mouth wuss stuff if you did go back, but it wouldn't kill me. I mean, it would not kill me to have the Redskins name restored. I just feel the only saving grace for me right now, because I'm so fatigued about it, is I think over the last, they announced it in 2020 and the actual rebrand took place in 2022. So over the last 4 to 6 years, I think people have been beat down with this so much that a lot of the vitriol, it's just sort of faded away. They still mad, and you say too much, you gotta get more than a raised eyebrow. But I just don't think it's like this, big point of contention like it has been in the past. Whew, man. Yeah, it's just weird because you see this beer, the jerseys, and I was sitting there thinking about the first game I watched where they had the burgundy helmet with the restored burgundy jersey. And I was like, I kind of like this, but it kind of looks out of place now with with the W. Because I had so gotten used to the red jersey, which I thought was the best of the three. Even though I did like the black one, the white one not so much. But it is interesting though, just kind of quietly remaking over, and it's pretty much the Commanders only a name at this point. Now, maybe because of trademarking and things like that, but I just don't feel you keep pushing the envelope further and further for it not to trend back in this direction. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they are just honoring the history, but doesn't seem that way. Okay, folks, when we return, we'll come back with some parting shots and maybe a salty take or three. We'll see how it plays. Definitely don't forget to check out the Pack Reset, launching any day now. I'll post information on social media, stuff like that. We already have an X account set up, so you'll be able to see tweets or tweet at us there. Gonna be a lot of fun. Stay tuned. Gonna have a lot of fun with that. All right, we're back to rolling. A little windy this afternoon. Okay. So let's do a little parting shots and probable salty takes. You know how we do up in here. Ooh, man. Where are we going here? Let's talk about the Dodgers. Yeah, those Dodgers. You know, remember a while back when I said I was hoping I wasn't jinxing them? And how I was starting to think there was reason to have concern that they might be in cruise control and mediocrity is probably settling in. Well, of course, when you have some nice chicken and dumplings served up to you in the way of some teams that you better beat, it masks the fact of what you're doing against the teams that actually matter. And after their loss last night, what are they, like 2-12 in their last 14 against winning teams? Not the kind of stat you really want to see in the last week of August. I mean, I'm torn on this one. Because one half of the brain knows the postseason stress that this bunch can have, especially when they ain't feeling confident. The other half of the brain says, well, they just won back to back. Then the other brain says, yeah, but no NL team's ever won 3 in a row, and there hasn't been a three-peat in American sports since major American sports since the Kobe Shaq Lakers. So the brain is definitely wrestling right now as far as how to deal with this when it comes to the Dodgers. Being a Dodger fan, of course, I know. Talking way too much about my teams in this AfterShoX. But hey, as I always say, if my teams are making news, I can't ignore it. I'm never doing it from a homer. I surely wasn't being a homer in that last segment about the Commanders. But the Dodgers, yeah, they are interesting. Because the thing that's good about them, that not only having chicken and dumplings on the schedule will help them out considerably, but also you don't have what the what the Giants did in 51 or the Red Sox did in 67. You know, you have a stretch of 37-7, right? 37 out of 44 games, and you're able to, erase a 11 and a half game lead in August. I think everybody else is just kind of doing their thing, and there's enough weak sisters on the schedule that have allowed the Dodgers to maintain a lead, even though, as I've been saying, they ain't really playing that well. Yeah. Then we've got, speaking of the Dodgers, their little brothers down the road, down the 5, San Diego. Woo, bam. I do not know what to say. Miss Kawanza. What's his name? Jose Feliciano and his wife. They bought the Padres for, I think, $3.9 billion. Something crazy like that. Right now, that's kind of the standard. Now, some people made some interesting comparisons to her. I'm not going there because, we don't get political up in this bee. But, yeah, they are kind of right. But this woman's says even less. But she's got a sparkling personality. And I'm sitting there thinking to myself, man, Dodger fans, what would it be like if they ever win a championship and get the lap of chew with this lady being the ringleader? Because his husband, he's just sitting back like, this is all about her shine. I'm telling you, it was a heck of a press conference, I mean to say. Absolutely crazy stuff. Absolutely crazy. Let's see here. What else do we got as far as parting shots go this week that's worth talking about? That's kind of interesting to see English soccer come back. Love how quickly people can get salty in one match day. I'll talk more about that on Fox Trading and the Foxhole coming up this week. But spoke to a few United fans. They weren't happy. They weren't happy at all. Love the last second madness of the transfer window. Love how the soccer peanut galleries can never be happy, even when your team goes out and does stuff. Oh, man. Still can't say enough about watching the Soul Power. But yeah, think about what's going on as far as the association goes. Finally, a little quiet. I've got some things we'll talk about on Fox Trigger and the Foxhole. We'll probably drop that sometime Friday or early Saturday. Got a lot going this week. Obviously, we're going to try to do the pilot episode of the pack reset, I think, tomorrow. We'll try to get that out Friday as well because we've got games coming up. Yeah, it's just been a crazy couple of weeks. Glad that we're becoming engrossed in football universe, for better or worse. All sorts of content that gets to, it writes itself a lot of times, and that's the fun part of this year. The fun part of this year. Excuse me. It truly is, and in spite of, I think, a lot of chaos going on as far as college goes. You get the Saturday and week 0 is percolating. You ain't going to care. And then obviously when the real fun starts next week, and then we get to the No Fun League. Yeah, because it's crazy. We've got so many things that are dropping. More bad CTE news. But of course, I have to ask the question. So, of this latest drop, it's a 25%, which, a quarter of, I forget the number, that had CTE. So what is that really telling us if it's 25%, which is far too much? I'm not poo-pooing that number. But to me, it provides more questions than, wow, we've got a major problem. The NFL and their PR mill, they're going to they're going to blast us with, oh, yeah, it's time for everybody at every level. Y'all should have been doing that. You know, when, as I call him, Dr. Wally, or I always pronounce his name wrong. You know, when he started sounding the alarm bells years ago, if that was the case. And unfortunately for the NFL and their shenanigans, nobody really trusts what they say. They just consume their product. Man. What else did I do interesting? Oh, last week, I got to do a watch party in enemy territory. That was interesting. Well, because I follow the local club, or did follow the local club, Lane United, and I will be part of Sporting Cascades when they launch next year. So obviously, being here in Oregon, most of the people that are really passionate about the local clubs are big Timbers fans. You all know I'm an LAFC fan. So normally I would never think about going down there, even though they're my friends. But I get a little pissy when watching the black and gold. But these guys are cool, and I was able to go to this watch party, and I had a blast. They're very casual, nothing wild. We're not talking about the kind of BS they had to deal with at Providence Park with Club America, people talking trash. But it was just kind of a surreal situation. The game ended up being a 1-1 draw, so nobody came away pissed off for the night. Probably feeling you should have taken 3 points. But I just thought it was really interesting when I see some of the scenes that can happen. But then again, that's so overblown when most people that like football proper, when they get together, exchange scarves, take pictures of one another and all that kind of stuff, that gets downplayed. It's more of, stupid stuff like one of my favorite clips I like to post every now and then. Like when New York City and the Red Bull fans were trying to brawl, like they were hooligans over in England or some nonsense like that. I'm just like, no, that's not so much that. I mean, I'm sure if I was in LA, I wouldn't be at a Galaxy watch party now. I probably wouldn't take my chances there. But I do like that I can go hang out with Timbers fans and have a great time. Talk soccer, talk some other stuff, and it's way, way cool. And it's why we call it the beautiful game life. All right, folks. We've been rocking and rolling. That's been a wild, wild week, so, apologize for the technical snafus that may have come up in this. We're trying to correct that stuff. Another shout out, because this thing is going to happen real quick. Real quick, as they say. I'm thinking we're going to try to do the first taping tomorrow. But, yeah, the pack reset. Really excited about this. Definitely been scurrying to get this up on and online. Still got some hiccups to overcome, but this is life in the pod spear, so bear with us. This is going to be fun. Obviously, we're doing a lot of cool stuff with the Foxhole. And there's some other areas that are probably going to sprout. Obviously, the scene too. So stay tuned, folks. Thanks for putting up with me. And like I said, stay tuned. The fun's really about the pop here. All right, folks. You know the drill. Keep it tight. Keep it clean. Keep it real. Avoid the bracelets, because we ain't got time for that bull jive. Have plenty of adult beverages with the people that matter, and good food too, if that's possible, as we only have so much of summer left, so soak it up, people. All right, folks, as always, pleasure. We will see you soon enough.